Welcome back everyone, it's Mags, and today I have a very special treat for you. That's right, I'm doxing myself by saying I live very close to a convention you may have heard of called Too Many Games, and as such I go there every year. One of my favorite things about it is that small studios and developers get to showcase their upcoming games there, and I love getting to check all of them out. One such game I tried out quite a few years ago was called Tokyo Underground Killer, made by a studio called Phoenix Games Productions. It was a very early build at that point, but it felt fun enough to play, and I was taken in by the clear aesthetic vision it had, and I knew I wanted to keep my eye on it. And finally, in 2025, it got a confirmed release date, September 5th. As it turns out, that was quite the unfortunate dates. While everybody else was silking their song, I was slicing and dicing around Shinjuku having a grand old time. I'm so glad to say it turned out to be a fantastic game, and I want to try to help give it the love and attention it deserves. So today, I'm here to tell you all about Tokyo Underground Killer. Tokyo Underground Killer is a first-person melee-focused action game, released only on PC for now, but the devs have said they want to look into console releases in the future. It's also only $10, so keep that in mind. I'm gonna tell you up front, that's an absolute steal. Also, I played this whole game on hard mode, so anything I say about the balancing and whatnot will be coming from that perspective. It can definitely get challenging there. Also, any of this is subject to change, as it's a brand new game, and the devs are still constantly on the lookout for improvements they can make and bugs they can fix. They just recently, only a few days after the game's release, rolled out a significant patch that fixes bugs, changes some aspects of the UI, rebalanced hard mode so the enemies do more damage than they did before. Luckily, or maybe unluckily, I played the whole game before that came out, and even changes the location of one of the secret collectibles, so keep that in mind too. Yeah, I really wasn't kidding. As it turns out, literally the day after I recorded this voiceover, they announced new free DLC later this month for more content. So that's just one more thing to look forward to. You play as one Kobayashi, a Yakuza member working for the Gokuraku family, which is one of two major families that have a presence in Shinjuku, where Kobayashi resides. He's regarded as one of the family's top assassins, and is feared by many as the Shinjuku Vampire, as people have come to call him. This is due to a special ability of his. He can absorb blood and gain power from it, which means the more people he kills, the more he benefits. But he's not the only one who can use this ability. A lot of the plot revolves around the power of blood and the various parties who wish to harness it and how they do so. One of the big things around this point is the flatliners, who are the people, quote-unquote, that you're cutting down in stages. Someone or something is mass-producing these flatliners, and they're consistently a menace to Tokyo. Something about the way blood energy has affected them have made them thoughtless husks, concerned only with violence and with no loyalty to anyone. The game has you going from mission to mission, cutting through hordes of these enemies to eventually get to your assassination target, the boss of the stage. This game gets real creative with flatliner designs, from your box-standard Hanya mask-wearing peons, to towering samurai, to UFOs with buzzsaws. The game constantly throws new enemies at you that make you have to change your approach of attack. Your main weapon is your trusty sword. You can spam quick light attacks or hold down the attack button for slower heavy attacks. You can dash, and you have a dash attack that does good damage and stuns enemies out of their attacks. I would argue that's definitely the most useful move in your arsenal. I was spamming that thing like nobody's business. It also automatically hones in on whichever enemy is closest, so it's just convenient. You can block, but if you block too many hits, you'll be guard broken temporarily, where you won't be able to block at all. If you guard or dash at the perfect time when an attack is about to hit you, you'll go into slow motion for a bit. It definitely takes some getting used to, but it makes certain enemies much easier to handle if you can get the timing right. Enemies will consistently drop blood vials. Each one of them heals you for a little bit, encouraging you to keep up the pressure, but they also fill your blood gauge. When it's full, you can use your other main form of attack, blood skills. These use an entire gauge to use, but if you time it right, you can press a blood skill button again to refill it automatically. You start with being able to refill it once before you need to charge it normally again with blood vials. Blood skills are basically your super moves. There are 10 of them in the game, and they're all pretty varied. You can only have 2 blood skills equipped at once, with a separate button bound to using each skill, but you can set 5 different pairs that you can switch between on the fly. The basic one you start out with lets you steal the life force from surrounding enemies, damaging them and healing yourself based on how many were within its radius. That already has you thinking about when to use it, because it's more beneficial to wait until there are more enemies around. The other ones are interesting too, like making you able to shoot a giant fire tornado, or literally stab yourself to coat your sword in blood and make it overpowered temporarily. Holy shit, that's cool. There are also sub-weapons, which you have to pick up from intentionally placed stands and missions, but they definitely take a back seat. I really only found them useful in particularly tricky situations where I didn't quite know how to approach and said, screw it, I'm pulling out my gun. They have very limited ammo and don't do a terrible amount of damage, but hey, they're there for those who like a little bit of gunplay. I don't think it would be inaccurate to say the most use I found for them was safely and satisfyingly destroying vending machines. Yes, you can explode vending machines for money and blood. As you kill enemies, you gain experience. Each enemy type gives you a flat amount, and it always takes 100 experience exactly to level up, quote unquote. There aren't actually any levels. Gaining 100 experience just gives you one bento coin. You can then spend bento coins on your ability tree by talking to Bento Man, everybody's favorite robotic bento dealer. You can find him in safe areas, and you can talk to him to basically use any gameplay related functionality. He'll heal you to full with a nice helping of bento, you can set your blood skill pairings with them, and you can exchange bento coins in the ability tree. There are a lot of abilities that provide improvements to basically any pre-existing mechanic you can think of. Basic stat raisers like health and damage output, sure, but also more blood refills, longer slowdown times with perfect guards and dashes, more blood and health gained from vials, more consecutive air dashes, and on and on. And then there's a healthy amount of new moves you can learn, like throwing your sword. I love this one. A counter attack you can perform after a perfect guard, a charged attack, you name it. It's very overwhelming at first to decide what to spend your bento coins on, especially because you don't gain them that quickly in the early game with weaker enemies giving you less XP, but you'll notice the increased rate later in the game. I do have some gripes with all of this. One is that when you get the slowdown after a perfect guard or dash, you also slow down too. There are some upgrades in the ability tree to make you move a little bit faster during slowdown time, but it still never feels that satisfying. It doesn't feel like you can get a ton of extra hits in, and kinda just ends up feeling sluggish, because it literally is, you're slowing down too. So while it's still pretty cool to do, and useful because it stuns some enemies when you perfect guard, it kinda feels bad sometimes, especially with stronger enemies you're not really gonna be able to kill right away. Also, one thing that I just genuinely found unfair was how much damage explosions deal to you. Again, I was in hard mode for this, but it probably feels like a lot on normal too. Not even to mention that, again, they've since upped the damage that hard mode does. If you're too close to an explosion, you're basically just dead, or at least a huge chunk of your health is gone. The game loves to spam kamikaze enemies. Yes, that's what they're actually called in the game. You know, ones that exist solely to run up to you and explode. Especially early in the game where you don't have as much health, you need to constantly be on the lookout for them. Especially in VR missions, because when you're in a big horde, one can just run right up to you without you knowing and end your entire career. It doesn't feel great. But then there's an enemy that will, from a distance, shoot missile barrages at you. You know, a ton of explosives at once. If you're caught in that, you're actually just dead immediately. I learned to develop a goddamn fight or flight response at the mere sight of any one of these, or hearing that distinctive beeping sound that indicates an explosive or missile attack. And again, if you don't actively know they're there, you can get seriously caught off guard. That was probably the biggest thing that gave me grief during the game. I'd say one of the main selling points of this game is that it just oozes cool. The gameplay reflects that for sure, but the surrounding aspects do too. As you can no doubt tell, the aesthetic of this game is very inspired, conveyed through city streets and establishments, all blaring neon straight into your retinas. Maybe your mileage will vary on this, but I personally love big city vibes in general, and I think the developers of this game had a huge love for specifically city nightlife. Nearly every single area in this game looks pretty as hell. Every single level had me marveling at the environments, but I'm also a huge sucker for this kind of aesthetic in general. And if you don't like the bright lights, the developers were kind enough to include a setting called Calm Neon that tones it down a little. There were moments where I just stopped to look at the city skylines in the distance, full of countless bright signs and screens for different establishments and advertisements. It's also the fact that I know Phoenix Games is a small studio with a small core dev team, so I'm just really impressed at the amount of assets needed to create a world like this. You constantly see made-up logos for random establishments, unique posters strewn everywhere, and there are even recurring mascots and celebrities that pop up throughout the game and in the environment, like the mega-popular idol group TK69, the cute mascot character Kamui, and the musician Kinoshita, who plays a part in the story and has records you can buy from shops and listen to. Yes, they even created a bunch of songs that exist solely as optional collectibles that you can purchase from shops around town and play at your apartment. And that's not even saying anything about the comic book style cutscenes, which are their own brand of pretty. Nearly all the cutscenes, save for shorter NPC conversations that are done in visual novel style, are conveyed through comic book panels. Even a bunch of optional stuff like the VHS tapes have them. The characters and dialogue are all pretty entertaining. I mean, Kobayashi is just a guy fed the hell up with corporate working conditions, and is now even being treated as just a tool by his own Yakuza family, but you've also got recurring NPCs you encounter in the town and during stages. Tsukamato is the classic otaku character, always begging you to pick up Kamui merch from wherever you're going next. Steven is a big snuff film guy who you can talk to between every mission for a new tape to watch. They serve to show some of the screwed up things the boss of the next mission has done, you know, to make you feel a little less bad about killing them. Then during each mission, you encounter the same 3 characters, one in each safe room, helping you gauge your progress in the mission once you know what to expect. First, Lily Moonrose, who's her own brand of insane, then the blood tender Chisuke, who gives you new blood skills, and lastly Kakura, who warns you of the upcoming boss and lets you spin a wheel for a random beneficial effect. He also has just a few injuries going on there, and of course, who can forget Bento Man? Also, all of it is dubbed, and the voice acting is great. Japanese audio is the default, so I kept it on that throughout the whole game. I did listen to a bit of the English dub too out of curiosity, but I personally think the Japanese one sounds a lot better. The game boasts a healthy amount of side content. Actually, there's an entire town you can explore between missions. Kobayashi resides in a humble apartment in Kabukicho, and when you're not tearing through flatliners, you can check out all the different establishments around town. For one, there's an arcade where you can do VR missions. 3 of these open up after every chapter. One speedrunning mission where you simply have to reach the goal in time, one annihilation mission where you win by killing every enemy, and one survival mission, which I always found far and away the most difficult of the bunch, where you have to survive for a certain amount of time, but also have to fulfill an enemy killing quota before time runs out. Probably to make you, actually play the game instead of just running away, because that would be boring. Also, part of the challenge definitely comes from just killing that amount of enemies in the first place in the allotted time it gives you. It definitely keeps you busy. In all 3 types of missions, there are objects you can destroy to give you more time. There's also a crane game with new prizes added after every mission starting after mission 2. These mostly have new colors you can deck your sword out with. Naturally, this can be more frustrating than the actual VR missions. I say that affectionately. It wouldn't be a proper crane game without some pure bullshit. Are you kidding? There's a part-time job you can pick up as a guard for a club, punching the shit out of customers they don't want you letting in. Enemies and citizens alike will be darting past you to get into the club, and you cannot see the full extent of the area at once, so you've got to constantly be on guard to catch these bastards and time your punches right. It doesn't actually give you too much money, unfortunately, especially not for the time sink, but it is very entertaining. After mission 3, a special shop opens up where you can upgrade your blood skills. You can pick up a new snuff tape to watch from Stephen Meatmangler. Yes, that's his actual name, between every mission for free at the VHS store. If you just want to watch some gore for the hell of it. None of them are actually that gory, especially compared to the shit you see in the actual main story. There are some stores that exist basically just so you can buy stuff, namely the record store where you can buy posters and, shocker, records, and the TK69 Club, which sells a variety of different merchandise all themed around the TK69 idol group, including one of their records. More stock gets added to these shops the further you get into the game. Naturally, you can gamble. If you're boring, there's Chohan. If you're a brain-rotted shrimp easily entertained by bright flashing lights, there's Pachinko. If you're particularly addicted to spending money for shiny objects, there are gacha machines that appear around town as you progress through the game that all have a small selection of collection items you can try to get all of. Personally, my brain-rotted shrimp brain is easily entertained by numbers going up and checklists filling out, and oh boy does this game scratch that for me. Every single collectible gets added to your album, which you can view in the apartment. I mean, sure, all of them serve an actual purpose too, mostly for customizing your apartment. You can hang up any of the posters or display any of the objects, which is really cool. You can actually watch the tapes and actually listen to the records, which you should totally do, by the way. They made a bunch of amazing music. But no, me, I like to see my silly little album grow. If you get serotonin from splurging all your money to buy knickknacks for completion purposes, you'll get a kick out of this game. Also, if you like secrets, I was pleased to discover there are multiple in each mission, something I didn't even realize until super late into the game, but I'll elaborate on that more when I talk about achievements and filling out the album. Before that, I'll briefly say there are a couple of things you unlock from beating the game. First, there is a new game plus, so you can replay and keep all of your progress, including abilities, blood skills, and collection completion. That was quite the relief for me. Also, there's speedrun mode, where you're tasked with completing each mission without safe rooms, and by extension without checkpoints, all with your default loadout. It's definitely a challenge and a good way to practice mastering the game. Now, if you're a completionist like me, you'll want to go for achievements for that sweet blue ribbon. There's an achievement for completing each of the missions in the game. There are miscellaneous ones for doing random things like only using your sword for the entirety of a mission, or a funny one called Tokyo Underground Failure, where you have to die in the very first combat area. This isn't the tutorial, it's the very start of the first proper mission. Some of these slightly more cryptic ones include killing 5 enemies at once with one of these explosive doll sub-weapons, the first of which doesn't show up until mission 9, and clearing all the arcade VR missions. I only say this one's a bit cryptic because there is a set that opens after the last mission, even though the game ends. You have to start a new game plus and they'll show up. Other than those and other random, relatively straightforward ones that don't require much of an explanation, the rest of them directly correlate with filling out the album. The big one is to fill out the whole album, most of it anyway. There are many different sections to the album. Blood skills, small collection items, big collection items, painting materials, which all come from the arcade claw machine, posters, records, and VHS tapes. Blood skills are all obtained automatically throughout the story, and there's a separate achievement for getting all those. All the upgraded versions you can purchase are also stamped in the album. VHS tapes include the ones you get automatically throughout the story in the form of your mission briefings, and all the ones you can get from Steven in the VHS store, so you need to make sure you get each one of those between every mission. There's a separate achievement for getting all the VHS tapes. Collection items refer to physical objects like dolls and stands that you can display in your apartment. Posters, records, and collection items all come from various places. One collection item is found in the crane machine, a doll of the leader of TK69. A bunch are through the record store in TK69 Cafe. Simply just buy out their entire stock. There's a separate achievement for buying everything at the TK69 Cafe. A bunch of collection items are found throughout the gacha machines around town. You also get one collection item automatically throughout the story after each mission. 3 of the posters are chapter specific. There's one hidden in the town before mission 3, one before mission 6, and one before mission 9. And finally, a not insignificant portion of collection items are found through the aforementioned secrets in each mission. First, Moonrose rooms. Lily Moonrose, the NPC you encounter in the first safe room of every mission, will give you a hint. She will, somewhere in her dialogue, tell you to check a certain location. It's always in the second section of the mission right after you talk to her. Each one of those hidden Moonrose rooms contains a unique collection item, and also a rocket launcher. Then there are kamui dolls. Yeah, Tsukamoto's begging is not just flavor text. There's not one in the first mission, but there are in all the rest. Before each mission, if you talk to Tsukamoto right outside your apartment, he'll give you a little hint as to where the doll is. Some hints are definitely better than others, and the dolls can be in any section of the mission, even in safe rooms, so you have to really keep your eyes peeled because these things are small and easy to miss. As long as you're diligent, filling out the album isn't too much to ask for, and it's satisfying to do. Overall, I really love this game. Did I mention it's only $10? Because all of this is only $10. If you want an easy to pick up, fast-paced action game, this has totally got you covered, complete with incredibly pretty visuals and a bunch of collectibles and some mini-games thrown in there too. They really did a good job bringing the world to life through all the diegetic, more subtle aspects as well. Oh, and did I mention this game has a killer soundtrack, pun maybe intended? Because it does. It's all done by a guy named Andrew Holschult, and he's definitely good at his job. This game and all the devs could totally use some more love, so if you haven't gotten it yet, do yourself a favor and get it. I've been Mags, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.